Well, hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, as the 2024 Ginetta Junior official eSeries continues its voyage around the UK, where one of our young drivers could well be competing for a real-life seat in 2025. My name is Zach Sweeney. Alongside me, as always, is the wonderful Jude Peters in the commentary box. And then, of course, behind the scenes is Mr. Tom O'Farrell, pushing the buttons, making the broadcast look lovely and pretty. Mick Sutton, of course, is the man behind the scenes that puts all of this fantastic racing action on. And of course, we have got Jordan Taylor, who's eventually managed to find his way into the session as our safety car driver. Will we need him as often as we did a week ago when we took to Donington Park? All will be answered as we head to, of course, North West Wales, to one of the better circuits, I've got to be honest, when it comes to UK racing. Anglesey always delivers. This is one young driver who, of course, has got plenty of experience when it comes to real-life racing in these cars as well. Jude, welcome back. What are we expecting as we head into Anglesey?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, Anglesey being a very tight track is much tighter than all of the other tracks in the UK, especially when you compare it to the likes of Silverstone and Donington or F1 tracks. Donington certainly used to be. So you typically see a lot closer racing and potentially a little bit more carnage if, we could expect to see that. But yeah, there's quite a couple of good overtaking zones here. I think this track perhaps isn't quite as good for racing as maybe some of the other ones, but it creates its own type of racing that is also great to watch.
I think so indeed. There you can see the calendar, of course. A couple of weeks ago, we took to Alton Park for the first round. Donington a week ago. We're here today at Anglesey. In a week's time, we'll head to Norfolk. That's one I'm most definitely looking forward to as we head to Snetterton. Silverstone the week later, though, on the national layout for the Ginettas, not the full Grand Prix. A week later, towards the end of September, we'll head to Bransdown in Kent before finishing off back where we started in Cheshire, though on the island layout of Alton Park instead on the 3rd of October. Plenty of variety. Of course, we pretty much tick off all the main circuits in the UK and very much a lot of the good ones, which, to be fair, we're treated to in the UK. I mean, Jude, we've already had two, but which one of the ones that we've got remaining do you think we're looking forward to most?
I think Silverstone National was quite a good one. Short layout, lots of straights, only about 3 corners, and it makes for a lot of slipstream, but it can create some really great racing. Brands Hatch is another one. It's an amazing track, so of course it's going to create some great racing, lots of long, fast corners, potential for 2 wide. So I think they're 2 of the ones to maybe look out for next. Snetterton as well, many of them really. I mean, these cars being made how they are just create great racing. So yeah, lots of rounds to look out for.
I think so. Of course, don't forget that these young drivers, while they are very, very young, some of them pretty much at the very beginning of their racing journey, vying for a free entry to the Ginetta Scholarship for winning the championship held in, next month, actually. So it's not a very long transition between the end of this championship and their potential prize. Of course, even if you don't win the championship, there are prizes up for grabs. Second gets themselves 3 hours in the official Ginetta simulator, and of course, that Ginetta factory tour to look at some of the behind the scenes. And then third place gets themselves a lovely upgrade to their sim setup with a 34-inch Samsung G5 gaming monitor. As we crowned our driver of the round last week, of course, it was Nathan Snaith after taking 2 fantastic podiums, one of them being a sensational victory at Donington Park. They each get themselves a pair of 3M UK sim gloves. Of course, some top quality sim gloves gives you that extra grip, an extra feel on your steering wheel, so a nice upgrade as well to your sim rig. And then, of course, those that turn up every week, get that 100% attendance award, also get themselves a PASR cap, again, just to rep the merch a little bit, hopefully to maybe just look cool, because who doesn't want a PASR cap at the end of the day when you turn up to all the rounds here for the Ginetta Junior official eSeries. Qualifying is pretty much going to get itself underway. Of course, lap times, as we expect, to be very close. There are the championship standings. Logan McAllister, he wasn't here a week ago, but he was here when we took to Alton Park. They get themselves 2 drop weeks. So Logan McAllister taking his very early on, but only 2 points ahead of Gabriel Norse, who was able to, of course, alternate the victory in second place at Alton Park. Fell back a little bit at Donington with a P7, and unfortunately for him, falling just outside the top 5, but then fortunately able to recover to a P3. P3. Then comes Nathan Snaith, really climbing his way up forwards after a sensational run, as we say, at Donington, taking that driver of the round, only 4 points back, though tied with Will Clark, who's gone 2 third places, 2 second places. Could we see him take 2 first places to keep the pattern going? Addison Smith rounds off the top 5, just 4 points back. Then comes Anthony Roberts, who's been able to take a fastest lap over the season last week at Donington as well. Aishan Nijar, who really impressed, it must be said, on debut at Donington Park, sits 7th. And Akairo Samuel, who unfortunately won't be here this week, is 8th. Harry Power from Riley Pogue, that's the top 10. Sam Chilton from Lewis Morton Evans, Max Gargin, Callum Boot rounding off the 14 driver field that we've got. And Jude, just looking at that championship, obviously it's early doors, we're coming into round 3, we've still got over half the season left to go, but the promise and the potential for a really close championship most definitely is there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen the racing from the past round, specifically Donington, and the top 5 or so were, really close to each other, or certainly top 3. And now we've got 2 more drivers that, or at least Logan, that didn't attend for Donington, joining us. So I think we're going to have, 4 or 5 people incredibly close on pace. So it's going to be a little bit swinging and roundabouts, just, between who's leading, who's taking that top 3. And it seems like there's 5 drivers who could find themselves at least in the top 3, if not winning. So it's definitely going to be a close battle, as we can immediately see already that, P2 to P4 are within a tenth of each other. So we can already now see how close the pace is between them. So I think it's going to be almost impossible to predict who's going to take the top spot.
Exactly, of course, qualifying 6 minutes left to go as they get to basically turn in as many laps as they'd like in this session. We are on the full international layout of Anglesey, so as you come down the hill after you go through Rocket in the left, then the right, up the hill and come back down, usually, I say usually, in my experience, I've never actually seen anyone use the full layout. They've always done the corkscrew, that left-right, that left that then puts you into that final corner, but this time they turn left, go down a long straight towards a hairpin before coming back on themselves to round off the lap. Do you reckon that's going to open the door for some more overtaking opportunities then this evening? Is track position going to be something that's of vital importance, or just a little bit of a helping hand?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be, track position is going to be quite important around here, because there aren't lots of overtaking opportunities. I mean, we used the GP layout, or the longer layout, and that hairpin is probably one of the main overtaking places. You've of course got turn 2 as being another big overtaking opportunity, and maybe up the hill, that tight hairpin. But apart from that, it's kind of slightly longer sweeping corners, or corners that are difficult to, dive down the inside of somebody. So having that extra bit of layout there, as opposed to taking the coastal layout with the corkscrew, does provide another overtaking opportunity, and I'm sure that's one of the main places that we'll see some of the overtaking happening.
At the end of the day, though, it definitely does not hurt to start from pole position, and Will Clark is on course to do that. Interestingly enough, and again, it's early doors in the season, but if you wouldn't to not count drop scores or anything, he would be leading the championship by 6 points ahead of Gabriel North. So yes, obviously, it is an if, but, and a maybe when it comes to, if they didn't have drop scores, because obviously they do have. But the consistency that we've seen from Will Clark has really been sensational. A double podium to kickstart the round, and then continuing that form, but one step higher at Donington. As I say, maybe the theme could continue to see him take 2 victories here at Anglesey. He's definitely looking to be the man on form, currently sitting 3.5 tenths quicker than Gabriel North in this qualifying session. But that consistency, I mean, even with a drop score format, if he's able to sustain this over the duration of a season, I mean, he's going to be doing himself a lot of favours, because I've seen championships won where a driver has only needed to win 1, maybe 2 races in a season, and Will Clark strikes me immediately as one of those drivers that can just hammer in result after result and be up there without having to really fight at the sharp end.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. I mean, consistency is always the key, it seems, for winning championships. I've seen, again, other drivers as well who may even don't win and still win the championship. And, you never know. We might see Will Clark, because he's on pole at the minute, take the win this round. But he's certainly been a very consistent driver, taking double P3 at Alton, double P2 at Donington, sorry. And it seems like, that kind of form continuing would probably be able to, give him a very, very strong chance of winning the championship. especially since other drivers have been a little bit up and down through the championship. And if they continue that, then you've only got 2 drop races. So yeah, I mean, the 2 drop races might not be enough for some people, and if Will Clark can keep it consistent, then it does look like he's in with a very strong chance.
Hopefully so. Logan McAllister, though, of course, returning after a week off at Donington, has fired back in terms of that gap for pole position, just over a tenth and a half off what we see Will Clark do. Now, the interesting thing for McAllister, of course, there are loads of different circumstances that play into attendance, of course. But missing around so early on surely puts a tremendous amount of pressure on the rest of the season because he's got nothing else to fall back on. The pressure is there to perform. Contrast that to a driver like Will Clark, who's constantly got good results coming in and in. He, for the rest of the season, has then something to fall back on and say, okay, this round didn't go to plan, or I have to miss this round. It's okay because I've got a really solid drop score to fall back on. McAllister doesn't have that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you miss out a round early in the championship, it puts so much pressure on you to keep performing, and you can't afford to miss anything because there will be drivers who have consistent results and don't need that drop score. Or maybe their drop score is, 1 or 2 races and the rest of their results have been very consistent. So if you can keep your results consistent and just drop, a result because not because you had to, but because it was your worst, even if that wasn't even outside the top 10, for example, makes a huge difference because you have such little pressure on yourself, whereas everyone else has the pressure if they have missed an early round that they have to keep performing, that you can just think, I can chill, maybe not make that move this early on or whatever. And it means that you don't need to be quite so rash with your decisions, for example, or you can just be a little bit more laid back and not have the pressure and not build up the pressure to even spin and cause a loss of a result.
And mentality is actually sort of half the battle, to be honest, for some drivers. Was recently commentating on the ESLR1 Esports World Cup in Riyadh, and one of the main talking points there was mentality, to even sort of the extent that some teams actually had mental coaches and physiologists to monitor their heart rates and their sort of mental capacity over the duration of the week, because 90% of the drivers at the top level realistically are probably within a tenth or two with each other in terms of pure pace. But the difference is then made as to who's more confident, who then has the conviction that when it matters is going to seize that opportunity and take that moment. And it's sort of no different, pretty much no matter what level of racing that you go on to, provided there's a competitive grid. In practice, Will Clark and McAllister probably weren't too far off each other's PBs, but doing it when you've got unlimited retries in practice and doing it when you've got 15 minutes in qualifying to put a good lap in are two very different things, and it takes a lot of mental strength to arrive on the day.
Yeah, that's something that I struggled with in real life to start with because, we've got even less than 15 minutes. We've got 3 laps to do 2 laps because we have to qualify for race 1 and 2. So you've only got room for one of those laps to be off. And that was something that I really struggled with at first, because it's difficult to go out and immediately start doing your personal bests. And so that's where the kind of mind coaching, like you're saying, comes in. And in real life, it's a massive thing. Lots of people have their kind of mind coaches and people that study psychology to help them because it makes such a huge difference that you really can't afford to be having that mental off day or whatever. And especially when you have such a short amount of time to immediately extract your best with lots of pressure because it sets up the rest of the weekend. It's something that is certainly very challenging.
Absolutely, and something that these young drivers are going to have to learn if they want to progress through the ranks, not only, of course, of sports car racing, but whatever racing they do, all be that sim. Of course, Lando Norris won a Ginetta Championship, and, well, now he's up winning races in Formula One. So the future could well be bright for one of these young stars on this grid, maybe for 2025 and beyond. Of course, if you have got a child or if you are a child yourself watching this and you're born between 2009 and 2010, definitely look into getting yourself involved for the second half of the 2024 Ginetta Junior official eSeries here, brought to you by Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing. Even though the championship's well underway, still prizes up for grabs and still plenty of experience. Qualifying has drawn itself to a close, and everyone has completed their final flying lap. So it is going to be Will Clark on pole position. Logan McAllister will join him on row 1. Gabriel Norris from Addison Smith, that's row 2, with Riley Pogue doing a really good job actually to round off the top 5. Top point scorer of round 2, Nathan Snaith down in 6th to round off row 3. Asian Nijar from Samuel Chilton is our top 8 ahead of Anthony Roberts, Harry Power, the top 10. Lewis Morton Evans is our 11th and final driver that will be taking to the grid. 6 rows, 11 drivers, and 2 races to indulge in over the duration of this evening. We have got our pole sitter, Will Clark, in the commentary booth. And Will, decent lap to kickstart things off. I mean, you've got 2 P3s, 2 P2s. Today's the day you're getting 2 P1s, right?
Hopefully. I set a very competitive time compared to what I set in practice, so I'm happy that I'm on pole.
Yeah, I can imagine so. And obviously, myself and Jude were speaking about how important track position is here at Anglesey. A couple of key overtaking opportunities, but are you confident that pole position is the right place to be?
Yeah, I mean, it is on any racetrack, but especially around Anglesey, it's quite hard to overtake. So, I'm in the strongest position. So, yeah, see what I can do.
Yeah, indeed so. So, of course, you've not only got race 1, race 2 as well to come out later. I mean, if it was the case that you're going to have to do some overtaking, how confident are you at maybe making those moves? I mean, the pace definitely is there, but is the confidence to get the moves done? Is that something that you're in tune with?
I feel I'm pretty confident on the brakes, so hopefully I can make some moves down the inside.
Well, best of luck to you, Will. Of course, we'll let you go. You've got a little bit of preparation time before race 1. Best of luck, and hopefully we'll see you back after race 1.
Thank you very much.
Awesome stuff. That is Will Clark, feeling confident as ever ahead of the first of 2 races here this evening. And what has he got to do then, Jude, to win this race? And obviously finish first is probably the first step. But in terms of that driving style versus Logan McAllister, who we know is a race winner this season, has got that sort of conviction and that sort of aggression to send moves up the inside and really go for it. What has Clark got to do to fend it off?
I mean, around here, around any track in this car, it's about keeping up that momentum. But there's only really 3 good overtaking opportunities around here. And I think since they're all kind of hairpins, really, if you can keep it on the inside, it's going to be difficult for them to get past. And if you can block off that switchback as much as you can, then I think it's going to be very difficult for anybody to get past, really, because you've got turn 2. That's a really nice area to overtake. But holding it on the inside means it'll be very difficult to go around the outside there, given that it's a hairpin. You've got turn 3, another hairpin, but that's incredibly tight. And as soon as you're on the inside there, it would take a miracle for someone to go around the outside of you. And then the hairpin that's the international layout, again, that's another good place. It's quite wide there. But again, on the inside, being a hairpin, in a car like this, it's quite difficult to go around the outside. So I think as long as he can keep it on the inside and not let anyone sneak up the inside of him or sneak to the inside before he can get there, I think it'll be, a really good position. Of course, it's a good position for him to be in, but specifically around here to keep it in that lead and take the win around here.
He feels confident, and it's not going to be easy, though. That is for sure. Will Clark searching for his first victory of the season. He's taken, as we say, 4 podiums from 4 races, 1 fastest lap along the way. Currently sits P4 in the dropped standings, only by 6 points, it must be said. And of course, if it wasn't down to drop scores, he is the top point scorer of all 4 races thus far this season. Just to go to show how strong of a driver young Will Clark is. There you can see them, of course, on the grid as we embark on what will be a 20-minute endeavour around Anglesey. And we're going to get the Tom O'Farrell special, the grid walk down. Of course, a quick reminder, it's going to be Will Clark from Logan McAllister, our front row here at Anglesey. Behind that then, of course, you've got the likes of Gabriel Norris, Addison Smith, Riley Pogue, the top 5 with Nathan Snaith keeping him company on the 3rd row. There they are in all their glory. Tom O'Farrell loves this free cam shot. We saw it on Tuesday with the Pro Simrig 2024 Super Touring Championship, getting all the up-close angles. This is something that I love about sim racing, because you can very rarely get this in real life.
Yeah, I mean, there's the level of competitiveness and is so high on the sim, because with it being a relatively low-cost thing to do and how many people love racing, to be able to easily go into something like this, you know, for as cheap as it is, especially compared to real life, um, it means that you get so many young, talented drivers, and any age talented drivers, all coming up against each other in lots of different championships, lots of different cars, around lots of different tracks, that all mimic the real world. Means that you get a really great few series. I mean, I remember going to the Autosport show one year, and they were showing the virtual Le Mans, and I sat with my dad and we were watching the end of it, and it took my dad a while to realise that it was actually not the real Le Mans. You know, it gets to that level of realism and that level of competitiveness that it can, you know, it can almost exactly mimic what you get in real life.
Exactly that, and that's what I love about sim racing and the advancements that it's taken, of course, not only in terms of, as you say, making those steps towards realism, but also bringing the two sort of ends of racing together, the virtual and the real, and sewing them together into more of a hand-in-hand cooperation as opposed to two ends of the sport. I mean, of course, we've got the Ginetta scholarship that helps bring drivers from sim into real. We've got the likes of Racing Prodigy that are recently going to be embarking on their championship. Racing Star and Deegan Fairclough's rise in British F4, P3 in his inaugural championship in single-seaters to now be one of the favourites to win in 2024. I mean, there's so much magic that happens in sim racing, and it's one that definitely is going to be hopefully around for quite some time. And I reckon actually probably going to be the stand-in, or at least sort of on the same level as what karting is in terms of grassroots entries. Nonetheless, we've got 30 seconds before lights out. Jude, who's coming out on top in race one?
Oh, I think it's always hard to tell. I mean, Will Clark did have a fairly decent gap in qualifying, so if he can keep that up, you know, keep it on the inside, I think he's got a very strong chance here.
Well, there you can see the 6 red lights. They'll light up red, they'll go out, and we'll go racing. 20 minutes on the clock for race 5. Round number 3 of the 2024 Ginetta Junior official eSeries. Will Clark from McAllister on pole position. We're here in Anglesey. Lights out, let's go racing. Good start from pole position as Gabriel Norse tries to get away well from the second row. They're side by side for the lead of the race. Outside line for McAllister. Does that sweeping nature of turn 1 allow him to take the lead of the race? I don't quite think so. He's going to give it a good go. Will Clark trying to fend off the 95 as Gabriel Norse gets himself involved into turn number 2 for the first time, and McAllister goes to the inside. Nicely done to take the lead of the race, but the up and under is there from the white machine of Will Clark, who tries to get the drive off turn 2. Not quite enough, but the slipstream through Church Bend up towards Rocket Inn could well be in his favour if he's able to plant the challenge onto Logan McAllister. But look at that around the outside from Gabriel Norse as he tries to launch the attack from the pole sitter, who's dropping backwards as we head our way up the hill. Of course, you're working against gravity, so you can brake a lot later than you'd expect. Who's going to be last late breakers? Will Clark tries to attack. Big lockup from Logan McAllister, but there we go. Gabriel Norse, in fact, tries to have a go at the race lead.
Yeah, really great start there from everyone. Super clean. I mean, unfortunate for Will Clark there. I'm sure he won't be too pleased with that, dropping from first to third, but really wasn't much he could do about that, you know, being on the inside. Didn't quite get enough of a launch to get away from Logan, so he was able to keep it around the outside and then have the inside for turn 2. And then he kind of just got freight trained a little bit by all the other people in the slipstream, as now he's even fighting off from Riley Pogue. And it seems like we've got Logan McAllister even starting to pull a bit of a gap there, as we see Lewis Moran Evans there having a moment towards the back of the pack. He is now quite a way off the back. But yeah, Logan McAllister there, looking like he's got a little bit of a gap, but it's not going to be enough to pull away from Gabriel here. Unless Gabriel and Will Clark start to battle, but it doesn't seem like they will be. Might be able to work together here and keep on to Logan McAllister and not let him drop away, keeping that toe. And if they can keep in the toe, they'll certainly stay on him, especially around here with the fairly long straights really, and some uphill straights even. So it really means that the toe is quite strong, but it seems to have all settled down now. Kind of half a second gaps between everyone. And it seems like most of the action now has died down.
Yeah, it has been, of course, that initial first lap chaos, and now it's sort of settle in and try and make the most of the race. Of course, we did see issues for Snaith and Morton Evans. I think Harry Power was involved. Side by side for P5 between Nija and, of course, Riley Pogue. It's the 43 on the outside. Exactly the same livery, so going off the numbers, bit of side-to-side contact as Pogue gets pushed wide through Church Bend. Is able to keep his foot in, though, nicely as Nija hangs on to that top 5. He tucks back into the slipstream. Could we see a change for the lead as well, as Gabriel Norse tried this move move on lap number 1. He's going to try it again on lap number 2, and the 84 machine takes the lead of the race, edges out Logan McAllister to the outside of the circuit, finds his way through. Gabriel Norse is taking no prisoners in the early stages of this race.
Yeah, it didn't seem like Logan McAllister was too happy with that one. He's flashing his lights now as Gabriel's already got a 5/10 gap from that. That was a really nice move there. Very clean, to be fair to him. He was able to just get it up the inside and then just run it out wide, which was perfectly clean, and Logan couldn't hold it there. And that was perfect from him, really, because he got a very nice line through the corner, and he was able to take the next corner completely uncompromised with the gap that he had. So now, as we see, Logan is under attack from Will Clark. And could this be an opportunity for Gabriel to put away? I'm not sure. As we see Logan McAllister spinning off there, I'm not really sure if he was helped or not, or if that was just completely on his own.
It was contact with Will Clark, who got all over the rear end of him going through that hairpin, accelerated a bit too early, tapped McAllister around, and that is huge potentially for this championship. It could well be a turning point. McAllister needs to pick himself up, dust himself off, and fight back towards the front. Addison Smith has been able to capitalise on that and find his way up into second place. Of course, our race 1 winner of round 2 at Donington, having to go defensive going into turn 2 as Will Clark tries to find his way through. That is going to be one the stewards are going to be looking at for sure. But McAllister, there's not really much that he can do, but like we were saying in qualifying, has already taken his drop week, and 8th place here for race 1 at Anglesey is not the way you want to be making your return to the series.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is really not looking too good for Logan here, since he missed Donington, using up all of his drop rounds. That means he couldn't afford for this to happen. As we were talking about in qualifying, you know, this is not a situation that he's wanting to be in at all. And being what, I can't even see the whole gap now, but it's probably about 5 to 6 seconds off of the lead. He's going to be having a lot of places to make up if he wants to get back towards the podium positions where he kind of needs to be if he's looking to fight for the championship lead, which he currently has, but probably will not after this round, after this race, sorry. So yeah, 8th position is, I'm sure he's not going to be very happy with that instant at all, and trying to fight to maybe get some points back from the stewards. But yeah, I mean, given that his drop rounds are already taken, he's just going to need to do some damage limitation here and see what he can make back up. As we see, is that Ginetta going for a very nice move there on Will Clark.
Yeah, it was indeed going into the hairpin, spotted the inside and was just committed on the inside. Broke nice and late, managed to find the move. Of course, the up and under is powerful. Will Clark downhill braking into the final corner. Once again goes up and under. Now that is a nice move. Threads the needle underneath the 000 version Nija. They're going to be side by side as they complete another lap. 14.5 minutes left to run into turn 1. The inside opens up actually for Riley Pogue to be knocking on the door of the 000. Nija, though, turns the defense into offense outside line through turn 2. Bit of a twitch from Riley Pogue, and that sort of puts an end to that attack. But Will Clark now leading a 3-car train for what could well be 3rd place. I suppose the good, well, not good, but less bad thing for McAllister is he's still got 14 minutes in this race to try and recover. Of course, the pace is allowing him to already be on the back of Samuel Chilton for 7th place, so at least there's a couple of points for him to maybe pick up in some damage limitation. We've still got a long way of the season to go, but it's looking good for Gabriel Norse, who took that first victory back at Alton Park, but has only been on the podium twice since, at race 2 at Alton Park and of course race 2 at Donington. Currently leading the way here in Anglesey and is looking good to take that championship lead. And we've got to talk about the championship, haven't we, Jude? Because even early on, we're on round 3 of a 7-round series. When we get to sort of round 6, when we sort of get to Silverstone and then to Alton Park to round it off, and of course Brands that penultimate round, and we look back in hindsight and sort of say, well, where could the points have been picked up? It's right now. So there's no point sort of kicking yourself in a few weeks' time. Act in the moment, score the points, and that's exactly what Gabriel Norse is doing by taking charge in this race. As Riley Pogue versus Asher Nija, they're going side by side for 4th place as well.
Yeah, I'm sure that's something that Logan McAllister's got in his head right now, is championship, because coming into this he was leading, of course, and taking that drop round from Donington, his 2 drop rounds, and now he's looking at 7th because of a contact. You know, he needs to try, and he's of course got some more time, but I'm sure that's all he's thinking right now, because he set a purple sector 1, so he's clearly fast. He's clearly fast enough to make up the positions. It's just whether or not he can make up the positions that he needs in 12 minutes. I mean, we do have a lot of rounds left, and if he keeps the results up, it's definitely not over for him by any stretch. But as you're saying, if he wasn't to win and he did look back, situations like this are where you think, oh, that's where I could have picked up the points. But to be fair to him, that instance certainly didn't look like his fault by any means. So I wouldn't be, if I was him, I definitely wouldn't be kicking himself, thinking, oh, I should have done something differently there. It was just, the nature of racing. That sort of stuff does happen, and it's how you move on from it.
Exactly, he can't be sat there. I mean, he's fully entitled to sort of be playing victim. It was something that he was a complete passenger in. There wasn't much that he could have done differently, like you say. But right now, it's not a case of feeling sorry for himself. It's, okay, it's happened. I need to pick up points. Whether it's my fault or not, I need to put the visor down, I need to churn in the laps, and I need to get after the likes of Anthony Robertson, Riley Pogue to even scrape a top 5, because let's not forget, of course, there is a reverse grid going into race 2. The top 10 finishers get flipped on their head. So if he's able to overtake these guys now, he's going to be filling himself with confidence to do it in race number 2. And to be fair, actually, even if he doesn't get onto the back of the leaders, when you flip the grid on its head, he's going to be starting ahead of them anyway. So race 2 is really where we're going to have to see a strong Logan McAllister to try and maximise the points if he wants to save anything out of this race. We're approaching half distance, 10 minutes and 50 seconds left to run. Personal best being set by Ashanija, a 47.362, fastest of anyone that last time by, churning in the lap times and knocking on the door of our pole sitter for the podium place. Gotta say, it's been a disappointing race for Will Clark. What went wrong for him? Was it surely just the initial getaway, right?
Yeah, I mean, around here, I think the initial start is quite important, because as soon as someone got onto the outside of him like they did, and they were just able to keep their nose in around the outside, then they had the inside for turn 2, and then that was kind of it, really. I mean, turn 1 is a place where you can go around the outside if you have the momentum, and since it was off the start, it wasn't like he was on the limit around the outside, so he was quite easily able to keep it there and have the inside for turn 2, and that just allowed everyone else to start swarming him, because if you're not going forward in this car, you're typically going backwards. So as soon as one person gets through, it's likely for everyone else to capitalize on that and immediately start to follow you through. And given the closeness of the racing, when you're bumper to bumper and there's nowhere to slot back in, you're kind of just at the mercy of the people behind you as soon as one person gets past you. And it wasn't really on him either. It wasn't really Will's fault that they were able to get past. It was just the nature of this track and the launch that he got. I mean, he maybe could have got a better launch, but he didn't get a bad launch, that's for sure. And it's just that neither did, I think it was Logan. So it was just unfortunate for him, really.
It was indeed, but lessons learned again. Don't forget that these drivers are even younger than you, Jude, and you make me feel old, and I'm only 2 years older than you, mate. So these guys are firmly on sort of that first step in their racing journey. Of course, a lot of them probably have got other experience in karting or sort of other avenues of sim racing, but fundamentally they've still got a lot of progression to make, a lot of progress still to be made, even if they're already strong and competent racers like all of them are. It's moments like this that you then learn from and say, okay, what went wrong? Did I do something different? Can I defend a little bit differently, carry a bit more speed, understand the tyre temps, or how to get a better race start? And again, it's a lesson learned for Will Clark that I'm sure he won't be making a similar one into race 2. And again, at this stage of a racing career, it's not always about just churning in results. Sometimes it is just a case of how many lessons can I learn and how many improvements can I get? Because I'm sure in your case, when you were first starting out, the focus wasn't necessarily on how many trophies can I get, it was how much can I improve and close in the gap to my competitors.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not coming from the karting, I was at quite a disadvantage because, while sim racing does prepare you very well, there's some stuff it won't prepare you for. And whilst you might have the pace, it's the racecraft that I think, whilst, you do learn racecraft from the sim, is a little bit more almost to it in real life, in the way that you need to just be completely fearless. And not having done any karting, there was lots of other people that had done European karting, world karting, and done really well in world karting, And so that's the kind of competition that you end up coming up against, who have lots of race experience. And even they're learning still, you're learning all the way, and people in F1 are still learning. But especially here, something like Ginetta Juniors is really where you learn car racing. And that's where everyone really starts learning it. Everyone that comes into this is still learning, and there is a big learning curve. But the sim definitely prepares you fairly well for that. Certainly for the pace side of things. So yeah, absolutely. All of these guys here today are, preparing for things that might help them in the future, that will help them absolutely in the future. And all the mistakes that they make, they're much less likely to make them going into their future careers.
Exactly that. Will Clark was able to get through on Alison Smith for second place, by the way. Of course, that's that white machine just ahead of the green and blue of Alison Smith. They've now tucked in, and there's contact actually behind them. Urshan Nijar has made contact with Alison Smith, but it's actually gone worse off. There's even more contact as Riley Poe gets involved. Logan McAllister, after setting the fastest lap last time through, is up in a fourth place, knocking on the door for a potential podium. This is a huge recovery, and side by side, Riley Pogue versus Ishan Nija for fifth place. It is going to be Pogue that gets the better of the pair of them as they run their way down the hill, but the 000, of course, going to have that inside line through the left. Of course, then you're going to have the likes of Anthony Roberts getting involved. He might well be able to push his way through versus Ishan Nija, gets his way past the 000, and that is how things can go from bad to worse to terrible in the span of 3 corners. A launch up the inside, though, from the 000 as he tries to scramble anything out as we head into the final quarter of this race. Anthony Roberts sees it coming, of course, the home hero here in Wales, as Nathan Snape is fighting with Samuel Chilton, but that just goes to show one small bit of contact can be the catalyst for a massive chain reaction that in the end has Logan McAllister recovering to what probably will be a podium place in race 1.
Yeah, that was absolutely textbook from Logan there. Just keep your head down after any mistakes that have happened or unfortunate incidents that have happened, and the race can still come to you. You could be dead last by 10 seconds, but you never know if the whole field is going to crash out. So you just got to keep going, and that has absolutely paid off for Logan there, as he's now only a 10th behind P3, looking to, potentially get a podium position. And being in that podium position, it would be absolutely ideal for him now, because not only would he, of course, be getting great points, he would also be starting the next race ahead of 2 of his biggest competitors. So even where he is now, he's starting ahead of 3 of the strongest drivers in the championship. And as he goes, going for the move for P3 in there, Alison Smith, and he does make that move happen. Very aggressive move, but I think that was completely clean. And now he's into P3 all the way from P8.
And all he's got to do now is keep it. He's in a strong position. 4 minutes left in this race. He's not going to catch Will Clark. He's got no chance realistically of getting any higher than 3rd place. But that's fine, because considering where he was to where he is now, this is huge for damage limitation. When I say he's got to get his head down and score some good points, I was thinking 6th, maybe 5th. And now, because of, obviously, granted, you could say he got a little bit lucky with that contact, but he was there when he did get lucky to scoop it up with both hands and capitalize on the situation. And that's something that takes a lot of skill in of itself. In racing, you write your own narrative and you create your own luck. And McAllister has done exactly that by being there in the right place at the right time and then not being scared to put his foot down, clear the incident, and take that 3rd place when it matters. Nathan Snape is fighting with Samuel Chilton. Of course, on the inside goes the 23 machine, finds his way through and up into 8th place as we round into the final couple of laps of this race. But this could be, again, in hindsight, when we look back in 4 weeks' time, one of those pivotal rounds that, say, McAllister, North, Clark are all fighting for the championship, where McAllister is within a chance of winning the championship per se. This could be the round that he looks back on and says, thank God I was able to get that P3, because those points are going to matter.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the difference in points between P3 and P8 is huge, and being someone that's been fighting for the championship so far, he's really not going to want to lose those points, because if you're in for a chance to win it, you really do want to. So, I mean, this is a huge race for him. He's already putting a gap to Alison Smith there. So for him to be able to go from P8 to P3, being in a position that, you really don't want to be in for winning the championship, to a position that is completely comfortable for him to, continue his lead potentially and continue his great results into race 2 of this round. P3 is an amazing place to be, and his drive so far has been great. It's very easy to get into a mindset of, oh, this race has gone terribly, I might as well give up now, and just get really frustrated, keep making mistakes, or even just not try. So for him to, continue driving as fast as he can, setting fastest laps, setting fastest sectors, and get back up to P3, because he was, as you say, there to scoop up the positions when he needed to. That was just perfect from him, really. And we saw that, I believe, at Alton as well. A recovery from him that was, or not recovery, but he was able to get from, last from the reverse grid all the way up there. So he seems to be able to just pick his moments, keep his head down, and keep moving forward as he needs to.
Exactly that. Of course, I always say you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And it's the same analogy that sort of works when it comes to luck. Again, people get lucky in racing, but not everyone is able to, in the moment, seize it. I mean, it's so easy for you to be in third place and the two leaders crash together, you go through for first. But if you then choke, then you haven't capitalised on the luck that you've been given. And sort of it's the same case for McAllister. He could well have choked, got involved in that incident, but he didn't, and now he's through to third place. We've got less than a minute on the clock. I think we're going to be going on, this is the penultimate lap, but it could well be quite close. We'll, of course, keep you updated. It's Samuel Chilton on the back of Nathan Snaith. They continue their battle for 8th place. Samuel Chilton almost thought that he was going to go for the move into Peel there. That, of course, downhill right-hander. Not great on the exit, though, from Samuel Chilton. Nathan Snaith was able to keep it nice and tidy and stay ahead. But I thought that just keeping that power down, waiting for Snaith to open up that corner into the right-hander and then nip as well on the inside. A textbook move nonetheless. But we've got 24 seconds on the clock. I think Gabriel Noose could well be able to take another lap. It will be quite close, 15 seconds. I think we are going to be able to get one more out of this. As I say, it'll be very close. 2.5 seconds clear of Will Clark. It will be the final lap time then, this time by 6 seconds left on the clock. Gabriel Norse, 1 lap left to run, and what a sensational run of form that he's had. Didn't qualify on the front row, but has done exactly what he needed to seize his opportunities and take this victory.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't exactly seen very much of him this race, because he was just able to get into the lead straight away and then keep going, really, and never look back. So he was able to, not get involved in any instance, as we see Nijar there going back to the pits. But yeah, he was able to just get in front, not make any mistakes, keep his drive and keep his pace up, and he's been able to capitalise on the fact that everyone else has been, stuck in some battling or stuck in an incident, and now he's going to very comfortably should be able to take the win if he makes no more mistakes. I mean, he's got a 2-second gap that shouldn't really be able to be closed in 1 lap.
Yeah, and make that half a lap now, because as they run their way through, rocket in and out of it very quickly. Gabriel Norse, of course, has got less than half a lap. We have just been updated by our safety car driver, Jordan Taylor, that Ishan Nijar, unfortunately, has ran out of fuel in this race, probably planning for a 10-lap race. Of course, we didn't go to 10, we went to the full 11, and in doing so, with it being very, very close, didn't have enough fuel, I assume, to make the end. So could it have been a lap sooner, he'd have really hit the nail on the head in terms of the fuel load, but unfortunately that wasn't the case, because this man right here, Gabriel Norse, started 3rd place, very quickly ascended past the likes of Will Clark and then Logan McAllister, and has since not looked back. He took the inaugural race win of the 2024 Ginetta Junior Official eSeries back at Alton Park. As we head into Anglesey, he takes the checker flag and is victorious for the 2nd time this season. Will Clark from pole position ahead of Logan McAllister will complete the podium. But what a race that we were treated to here for race number 1 at Anglesey. Race number 2, of course, is still yet to come with the reverse grid. Should be interesting to see who can capitalise. It's Addison Smith and Riley Pogue that complete the top 5. All eyes really are on one man, and that, of course, is Logan McAllister. His lowest finish all season long, but he had to work for it, and it's probably going to be one of those most important races that he's going to race this season, even if it's not the top step.
Yeah, I mean, that was, being Logan's lowest finish and still 3rd is quite impressive. But I'm sure there's nothing to be, annoyed about for him in that race. I mean, it was just, you know, a bit of unlucky, well, a bit of misfortune, which happens in racing. Put him back to 8th, but he was able to recover so well and get all the way back to 3rd. So, yeah, great race from him. Great race from Gabriel. But it puts Logan in a brilliant position for the next race. He's got Addison Smith in front of him, who is, of course, fast, and he'll have to try and get past him. But he is already ahead of the 2 people that have finished ahead of him. So he'll be in a great position to start the next race.
Well, we have got some of our podium sitters joining us in the commentary box. We'll work our way up the podium and start with Logan McAllister. Of course, Logan, not the way that you would have wanted to start the race, but in the end, we were able to climb your way back to limit the damage really nicely. And I think that's going to be really important for your championship.
Yeah, an unfortunate first couple of laps with the incident and the contacts, but a really good recovery drive. The pace felt really fast, really good. I love this track as well. It's nice and technical, suits my driving, and yeah.
Very well done indeed, of course, to climb your way back to where you did. I mean, what is the plan now for race 2? You'll be starting ahead of 2 of your biggest competitors. Are you going to be aiming to carve your way through the field as quickly as possible, or do you think there's going to be a little bit of a challenge?
I definitely want to carve my way through the field as quickly as possible. Obviously, I need the win to maintain a good championship, but obviously it's not going to be easy with the very 2 talented drivers. But yeah, let's just hope for another good race, no incidents this time, and we'll see what brings.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Best of luck then for race number 2. And hopefully we'll catch him in about 20 minutes time after we do, of course, take to race 2. Working our way through the podium then to P2. Will Clark from pole position, not really what you'd have expected, but in the end, you bagged some decent points.
Yeah, I didn't have a great start. I was sort of caught, napping off the start, but it was an unfortunate incident as well. It was completely my fault, and yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But I had good pace throughout the whole race, and I finished pretty strong. So
in the end, it was an all right race. Now, of course, for race 2, you'll be starting P9 and hoping to work your way through the field. Are you obviously confident in your overtaking? I know you said you were fairly strong on the brakes. Is that something that still holds true now you've got a race under your belt? And obviously that initial getaway, are you going to be slightly better off this time around?
yeah, definitely. I mean, I've gained some experience with this track, and I'm hoping for a better start. I'll just have to concentrate more.
That's true. Well, best of luck for race number 2. Hopefully you'll be able to take to the top step. I mean, at the moment you're on 3 consecutive P2s, which isn't at all bad going, but best luck, Will. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And finally, to our race winner for the 2nd time this season, Gabriel Norse. Welcome in. P3 on the grid, and you stormed your way to the lead. Talk us through that race, because those sort of first 3 or so laps were electrifying from yourself.
Yeah, at the start I kind of just saw my opportunities, on the first lap getting past Will was quite nice. And then I just followed Logan and managed to get him into the complex. And then they had that incident, which really just left me on my own for the rest of the race, and it was quite nice from there.
And now obviously going into race 2, you're up there in the championship. I think in doing that race you have taken the lead in the championship versus, of course, Logan McAllister. Provisionally, obviously, with drop scores, you've got a much bigger drop week, which I suppose probably is a good headache to have, considering your run of form with some really good results. But when it comes to race 2 and the championship, I mean, even early doors, we're not even halfway through the season yet, but the championship is still a talking point. Is it something that's on your mind, and going into race 2 is a points, again, something that you're thinking about?
Yeah, I think into race 2 I don't particularly want to get myself caught up in any incidents, so I'm kind of just going to try and keep my nose clean. And of course thinking about the end of the season rather than in the moment, because if you think in the moment then you usually make mistakes.
It's very true indeed. So you're just going to play it as it comes, races ahead of you, try and make as many overtakes as you can?
Yeah, that's really just the game plan.
Well, best of luck to you, Gabriel. Hopefully we'll see you back in 20 minutes' time. Hopefully it's going to be more results for you, but it's definitely looking very close in the championship. We'll let you go, get yourself ready for race 2, and as I say, hopefully we'll see you back. Best of luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, Jude, what are we expecting from race 2? Because we've got a lot of confident drivers, fiery drivers when it comes to the championship as well. 20 minutes back on the clock, and Anglesey, a track that we've already seen can impress in terms of the racing. And now, obviously, as we flip the grid on its head, what's in store?
I think it's going to be an incredibly interesting race now, as we've got, arguably the 4 fastest drivers starting much more towards the back of the field. And it's very difficult, as we've heard the drivers say, it's quite difficult to overtake around here. So I think they're either going to work together, being my least likely scenario, or they're going to be half working together and, trying to weave through the field, but probably capitalizing on each other getting held up by the maybe drivers that are slightly slower than them, and kind of just sending it in on each other, perhaps where they're not expecting it. And I'm sure they'll be able to get towards the front, but it might take a little bit longer than perhaps we expect, with some battling towards the back of the pack. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting race to see now.
Hopefully so. Well, let's run you through the grid order very, very quickly. We've got about a minute. It's going to be, of course, Harry Power from Sam Chilton. Nathan Snaith starting up there in third. Of course, race winner of race 2 at Donington. Can he emulate that here in Anglesey? Hasn't looked to be too strong on pace, but you never know what happens with reverse grids. Anthony Roberts from Riley Pogue. Addison Smith from Logan McAllister, and Will Clark that will keep him company on row 4. Race winner of race 1, Gabriel Norse from 9th. Ahead of Ershan Nija, who hopefully has fueled up the car enough to make the full race distance. Lewis Morton-Evans should be starting from P11, but we're getting word that he could well be starting from the pit lane in this race. And obviously not ideal, but at the very least, the positive that we can take is we do confirm there he's unfortunately sat in the pit lane with someone else. And last time I found that be sat in the pit lane, of course it will be. But the positive that we can take from this, I suppose, in some capacity, is that should there be any lap 1 carnage, he won't have any part of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's always one of the benefits of starting from the pit lane, is that you get to watch the carnage happen in front of you and just slot through.
Indeed so. Well, let's take to the 6 red lights for the second time this evening. Power from Chilton, Snaith, Roberts, our big championship contenders at the back end of the top 10. 20 minutes back on the clock. Race 2 here at Anglesey. Lights out, let's go racing. Good start from pole position, it must be said, from Harry Power as he powers his way towards turn number 1. Nathan Snaith getting a good launch as well from 3rd place, but Samuel Chilton trying to use the outside line to his advantage, gets the power down, of course, all on cold tyres, but the 45 machine able to launch the attack. They're going to take it 3 wide as Snaith tries to launch the offensive to the outside of turn 2. No way through as Riley Pogue assumes the inside line, gets his way up in a 2nd place, but Samuel Chilton into the lead of the race, into Church Bend for the first time here at turn number 3, pretty much flat out probably in these Ginetta Junior cars as they try and work their way through. The slipstream going to be very powerful on that run up towards Rocket Inn. Logan McAllister trying to make some quick work through the field. He's got Addison Smith to his left hand side. Of course, Will Clark directly in that slipstream as it's going to get very busy as we ascend up the hill towards the first major braking zone off the lap. Logan McAllister, how's he going to deal with this? Nathan Snaith darts to the outside of the corner as well. Is very wide in the background. Nathan Snaith has locked the rears and around they go. It's absolute carnage at the top of the hill.
Yeah, that looked an awful lot like our round at Anglesey there, with a bit of a car park happening at the top of the hill. Yeah, it kind of looked a little bit like I expected, really, with them towards the back of the pack, the fastest drivers, kind of trying to capitalise on each other, getting held up a little bit, as opposed to working together. As we see Addison Smith there going down the inside of Gabriel Norse, I believe. But it looks like, well, Addison Smith is already up into P3 from P6, so that's immediately 3 positions gained, but I'm sure that they'll be looking to take those positions from Samuel Chilton and Riley Pogue there as they go side by side through the hairpin, and that outside line again just doesn't work really, and now Addison Smith can very easily cover it off on the inside here, but this is not going to be helping them get towards the leaders, given that the leaders are already a second ahead of them. So this is not a position where they should really be fighting. They should kind of be working together now to not let Riley Pogue get away, because he's already pulling a huge gap from everybody else.
Yeah, Riley Pogue doing a brilliant job thus far this season. Hasn't really been able to finish. Well, he's finished P5 in the last race. That was his best result of the season. That's a huge slide from Samuel Chilton. He's able to keep tabs on it and actually still get out of the way of the pack behind, but that is not ideal for him as Anthony Roberts takes to his best Colin McRae impression to get past him as they run their way into Church Bend. A fantastic save from Samuel Chilton, but not the one that he'd have wanted to have to make. Inside line of this contact, and they pirouette in tandem himself, and I think that's Nathan Snaith involved on the exit of turn number 3. And an unfortunate one that not really either driver could have much say in. Will Clark attacking for the podium as well on Addison Smith inside line. As he said he was brave on the brakes, he's not quite brave enough to get the move sealed, but side by side as they run their way into Peel corner here at the right hander. Will Clark on the outside, Addison Smith able to hang on. He gets pushed wide and through goes Logan McAllister.
Yeah, we've been a great start so far there with lots of overtaking going on and lots of moves all around the pack. So Logan McAllister here in P4, and as I was saying earlier, we've got Riley Pogue pulling a 2.5 second gap to Gabriel Norse now, with the drivers that we would expect to be up there being up there, but Riley Pogue is leading them all by 2.7 seconds, and that seems to be going up a little bit. So it's not exactly ideal for these guys behind, because it looks like that they're kind of right on each other, potentially battling, as we see that they are battling, and not really working together to get towards the front where they would all want to be. As we can see there, Gabriel Norse is getting away from them, and he might be able to, you know, catch up to Riley Pogue, but the rest of them don't seem to be working together very well and just battling. So I think we could even here see 1-2 from Riley Pogue and Gabriel Norse if they can kind of work together almost and not battle too hard and just keep pulling away from the people behind that are battling. As we see Logan there going very wide, potentially trying to go around the outside, but it's he has got an overlap on Will Clark there, and now he should be able to get ahead.
Should be. It's turn number 3. Logan McAllister tries the inside line. Addison Smith gives him the space. That curb, though, as we've seen as the cars naturally understeer, like we saw with Snaith and Chilton this time a lap ago, can be deadly. McAllister, though, gets the run in the slipstream. They're nose to tail 4 cars involved in this train towards Rocket Inn. Who's going to be the last of the late breakers? Could it well be Logan McAllister? There is Aishan Nija on the inside of Will Clark as well, who's absolutely launched it on the brakes. As there we go, McAllister gets the move done on Smith, up in a 3rd place, but a little bit wide through the next right-hander, washes the car out, and that's going to open the door for the 15 to have a look. I think that could well be Anthony Roberts having off in the background. I think it could well be as Lewis Morton Evans finds his way through as he fights with Harry Power, but back at the front of this train because we've got championship contenders involved. Down the hill through this very quick flick to the left, Ishan Nija forced to go defensive as Will Clark applies the pressure. Logan McAllister, though, a very mature drive to find his way up in a 3rd place, but like we say, they're not working together. 4.5 seconds now is the gap to the top 2.
Yeah, I mean, we are seeing some absolutely brilliant racing here. It's great to watch. As we see, Ijanija hitting into the side of Addison Smith there, and he will not be very happy with that one, but thankfully they've been able to keep it on track together. And yeah, that was lucky that he didn't spin there. That was very close. But yeah, I mean, a great bit of battling here that I'm sure Riley Pogue and Gabriel Norse are going to be absolutely loving, because there's a 4-second gap. As we see Addison Smith being spun there, one of our strongest contenders in this championship, and he's gone back pretty much to last now.
Yeah, coming into this race was 3rd on the all-time point scorers list, came into the round, of course, at 5th place in the championship, and is going to be leaving it with a very sore taste in his, sour taste I should say, in his mouth. Don't know if you can taste soreness, but you know, it's fine, we'll roll with it. Nija, though, who probably hasn't been everyone's best friend this round in terms of some aggressive driving, is on the back foot when it comes to Lewis Morton Evans. He tucks in behind the number 8 machine with less than 14 minutes to run in this race, drops down to 7th place, and is really having a tough affair of things in race number 2. It's still Riley Pogue, though, that leads the way. Gabriel Norse, now, at the moment, he's not showing the pace to catch and win this race, right? But say if he does, if you're Gabriel Norse, do you go for the win? Or do you say, I'm not going to take extra risk, I'm happy in 2nd because I'm ahead of the people I need to be ahead of?
I mean, I think you don't go for the win until the last lap, and then you go for the win. I think it's always going to be difficult to, you know, just sit behind someone in 2nd that you feel like you're faster than. And and it's going to be difficult to sit behind someone that you think you're faster than. So we're definitely going to see him probably try and go for the lead if he can catch him. with a 1.8 second gap, it does look like he's catching him quite a lot. You know, it was 2.7 and now it's 1.7. So he's definitely catching. Whether he can make the move, maybe whether Riley can hold that defense, well, I'm not sure. We'll have to see. But I would definitely be going for that because Will Clark is 6 seconds behind them, so they've definitely got the gap to try and do it.
Yeah, they do indeed. Of course, you did say there, huge drama coming out of the hairpin for Logan McAllister. Got it all out of shape. Found himself spearing towards the barrier, bouncing back onto the track and emerging in 8th place. It's been a round to forget for the 95. And now he's going to have to be on a comeback drive of the century for the second race in a row. That is not what McAllister needs at all when you're fighting for a potential chance at the 2025 Ginetta Junior Scholarship. 12 minutes left to go in this race. Thankfully for him, he's got 2 seconds before rejoining a battle for 4th place behind Harry Power. But again, it reinforces that point for Gabriel Norse that points mean prizes, and at the moment one of his big heavy hitters is down in 8th place. Of course, yes, there is the point that Gabriel Norse has to drop 40 points at the end of the season as things stand, whereas McAllister will be dropping 0. But even then, McAllister, 2 bad rounds does not outweigh sort of that lesser drop score as such, as Nathan Snaith unfortunately is having some issues. So firmly going into round number 4 and thus the second half of the season, you would have to argue that if things stay as they are, Gabriel Norse is a firm favourite for this championship. But in terms of this race, Riley Pogue has dealt with it brilliantly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's just been out in front, you know, capitalising on all the battling going on behind him. I mean, Gabriel Norse is seeming to take about 4/10 of a lap out of him. But, I mean, if he can keep his defence, if he can get some good defence going, there's no reason that he can't win this race. And I mean, of course, we did see Logan there spinning out of the hairpin. But, you know, that was just a big mistake from him, really. And that's going to cost him big points in the championship because last race he had, 14 minutes to catch up from 8th to 3rd that he ended up getting. And now he's got 10 minutes. But this time he has, he's got much bigger gaps to contend with because from 4th to 3rd is 4 seconds. So for him to get through all of the people that he did before up to 4th and then overtake and try and get to 3rd, he's got a much bigger gap to try and get, a much bigger difference to 3rd to try and catch with all of the people that he has to try and get past again. So for him, this is really not going to be ideal, being a championship contender and he's now down in 8th from a mistake is with no real rounds that he can be dropping because he's already dropped 2 that he couldn't attend. This is really not a place that he wants to be in as he now gets up to 7th.
And the thing is that in race 1, we gave him, well, he could give himself the benefit of the doubt, right? Because it wasn't his fault. Race 2, obviously we only saw sort of the tail end of it, but from what we could see, he just dropped it all on his own. And that surely as a driver makes it all the worse because you haven't actually got anyone to blame but yourself. And when it's someone else's fault, you can just say, oh, well, at least there wasn't anything I could do. But now, McAllister, I think he's actually ran wide in the background as well. I think he has just ahead of Anthony Roberts. So again, it's that confidence thing and that mentality thing that we went back and spoke about in qualifying, isn't it, Jude? That the confidence isn't going to be there. He's constantly now going to be second-guessing himself into that corner. He's going to be doubting himself, kicking himself that he's made that mistake and put himself into this position. And it's such a difficult sort of hole to climb yourself out of when you're in that position as a driver.
Yeah, for sure, because, to make a mistake that is all on you and you've now lost out so much because of it, he's going to be absolutely, like you say, not taking that corner quite as well as he perhaps was before because he can't afford for it to happen again. So he's now going to be potentially losing out on some pace because of it. I mean, he is, of course, still carving his way through the pack as he's looking to move up into 6th now from 7th. But still, it's going to be very difficult for him to get into a position that he was in before because, like we were saying, he was doing really well to get up to the positions he was in, but he did get lucky, and to get lucky twice in a row is unlikely. So even if he's putting himself in a position to capitalise on the luck, whether he gets the luck isn't onto him, as he goes very tight over those curbs and smashes into, is that Lewis Morton Evans there? But yeah, I mean, you can't bank on luck happening.
It's true. It's nice when it is. And like we say, you've got to be there to deliver when it happens. You've got to be there with both hands cupped, ready to scoop it up. But you can't bank on it. You have to be the one in control. You have to be the one with the pen in your hand, writing your own story of the season. And unfortunately for some, the story ends up being a bit more of a scribble as they work their way through, making mistakes on their own accord, getting involved in incidents. But again, it's all a learning curve. And McAllister, right now, this is a low point of the season, right? Race 1, he was able to pick himself back up, dust himself off, and continue on. Race 2, at the moment, doesn't seem to be following it in a similar fashion. But at least now, this is that turning point. Hopefully for him, this is that sort of awakening story, that awakening point of the season that he realizes and hopefully uses this as a stepping stone to improve for the second half. Because when you've got adversaries like Gabriel Norse and Will Clark, who haven't yet actually put a foot wrong all season, it's going to be tough. Fight at the front, by the way, is down to half a second as Harry Power, unfortunately, after being our pole sitter, is down in 9th place after having an off on the exit of turn number 1. But with just under 7 minutes left to go, the fight for the lead is down to half a second between Riley Pogue and Gabriel Norse. Could we see a double victory from the 84? Surely he's going to be gunning for it. I mean, you can tell in how hard he's pushing that car. He sees victory and nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a position where we're highly likely to see Gabriel take the win here and take the double win, because he's half a second behind, showing that he's clearly got the pace over Riley Pogue here. But we're just going to have to see if he makes any mistakes going for the lead, which is very possible. You know, it can get to your head when you're looking at a lead position right in front of you. But he knows that he's got the pace, so he's just got to let it happen now. And if he does just let it happen, it's very much looking like he will, since he's taken already 2.3 seconds out of him this race. So, and there's 5 minutes left, which is plenty of time for him to make that move happen. So I'm sure Riley Pogue will also be realising the fact that Gabriel seems to be quite a bit quicker than him, potentially work with him just to keep that podium position, which would be a brilliant result for him.
I think so. Of course, for Riley Pogue, his best result thus far has been 5th place, which he got about 20 minutes ago, actually, in this season. His best before that was in 8th place. So, of course, he's been making some steady progress. And at the end of the day, that in of itself is a success. Because right now, I mean, he's fighting at the front. He's leading the race. There is a chance he wins. But worst case scenario, with Will Clark 6 seconds back off him, he's going to finish, second, right? Even that is 3 places higher. It's onto the podium. And that progression, that improvement as a driver is exactly what you want to see, and one that Riley Pogue is hopefully going to fill in with confidence, because we talk about mentality and again, sort of the low points of a driver and, that lack of self-confidence, but it works just as well, if not even better on the flip side of that. Riley Pogue, off the back of today, with a good result, could kickstart what could be a series of good results going into the second half of the season.
Definitely. I mean, if he now works with Gabriel potentially, I mean, we say that Gabriel isn't actually catching him that so far. He's of course brought the 2.7 second gap down to 5/10, but once he's hit 5/10, he's struggling to get onto the back of him. And if Riley Pogue can keep this up with only 4 minutes left, he could even be looking at keeping the win. I mean, that'd be an amazing result for him, and so would second. So if Gabriel does get right on the back of him and he does start defending too hard, then I don't know what the best decision for him is, really, because by defending too hard to someone like Gabriel, who does seem to be quicker than him, that could start to make Gabriel get frustrated, make some more rash moves potentially, as it's a very common thing to happen, and then both of them end up worse. So, I mean, if Gabriel does really start to get on the back of him, which it looks like he might be into the next few corners, it could just be worth, tucking in behind him and moving forward with him, because they have a 6 second gap behind them. I mean, if they did want to battle, they've got plenty of time to do it with the 6 second gap, but they don't really need to. And I think Riley Pogue might even be able to see that and see that, he can't really keep up the pace of Gabriel, so he might as well keep him behind him.
Yeah, exactly. And through, potentially, could go Gabriel Norse right here. Riley Pogue, how defensive is he going to be? The inside opens up with less than 3 minutes to go. He's on the outside. Gabriel Norse, our championship leader, goes to the inside on the first moment of asking, the first opportunity to seize the lead, and he finds his way through with little to no resistance in his way. Riley Pogue then tucks in a second place. Gabriel Norse on course for his third victory of the season, his second consecutive. And this could well be a pivotal moment in this championship. Will he go all the way? We haven't seen him sort of on the back foot yet. How does he deal with that pressure when he's under pressure is a question that we're going to have answered at some point this season, surely. But right now, Gabriel Norse is putting his best foot forward, showing his hand. And with 2 minutes and 16 seconds left of this race, surely is looking favourite to conquer here in Anglesey.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, he's already pulled out a half a second gap to Riley there. So if he can keep this clean now and keep it no mistakes and just keep driving forward with the same pace, he's looking to very, very comfortably take this win. As there are some more battles going on back in the pack between Asden Smith and Anthony Roberts there. Asden Smith looking to get to the inside for the next corner, the final corner now. Looking like he will make that move up into 6th. But yeah, I mean, Gabriel's in a very favourable position now as Will Clark sets the fastest lap, but I don't think it's going to be enough to catch 4.8 seconds in what is likely to be 2 laps. Just isn't really going to happen with the likes of Gabriel in front of him, and even just to catch 5 seconds on someone slower than him would be incredibly impressive in the tiny amount of time that we have left. So I think, you know, we're looking, the top 3 are going to be the top 3 now. With behind the top 3 another 6-second gap. So it looks like it's very much settled down, not much else happening right at the front, unless we of course see some mistakes. But that's certainly not to say that the final, outside the top 3, the positions are definitely not decided just yet.
Very true indeed. Here's Logan McAllister eyeing up 4th place versus Ishan Nija, tries to get the up and under, launches himself over the curb, but of course you very quickly run out of track before you work your way into the next corner. He tried to go for the next up and under, but there was no way through on that occasion. This time looks to the outside. Of course, we've got a driver that is looking for redemption in terms of making a mistake in race 2 and trying to limit that damage, and a driver in Nija who of course has been very aggressive all evening long and will not be looking too kindly at relinquishing a 4th place, especially as we could well be heading on to either the final lap, or the final lap is the one that we're on now. We've got 18 seconds left to go. Again, it's going to be one of those cases where it's really, really close. I think we are just about going to scrape ourselves onto one more lap, led, of course, by Gabriel Norse. For the second time this evening, he will start the 11th and the final lap, continuing to hound in some good pace. Leader then on the final lap, the white flag will wave, and Gabriel Norse on course for his 3rd victory. But all eyes for me on Logan McAllister, because his maturity has been unmatched, right? He has set the standard in terms of racecraft.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, going from that first race, 8th all the way back up to 3rd, a little bit of luck on his side, but he was able to capitalise on that and really just, well, take the positions. So, yeah, he's been very mature and, you know, not getting a hot head because of any mistakes or any unfortunate contacts that have happened. And now he's gone all the way back up to, well, he's got back up to 5th again, which is a position that he needs to be in really for the championship now. So being able to get back up to 5th is definitely going to be important for his championship, as he's actually challenging for 4th at the minute on Ishan Nija, as he goes very wide there, and Logan McAllister couldn't really do anything about that. He had nowhere to go. But yeah, again, 5th, you know, great points. He is leading the championship before this round. And, you know, he needs to keep those points with no more drop rounds that he can really have. So, yeah, I mean, he's definitely been having great racecraft this race and last race to make up the positions that he has and get those incredibly important championship points.
Exactly. So, of course, we've got this fight for 4th, but also we'll have to see the championship leader and our victor across the line. Logan McAllister in a last-ditch effort, though, tries to go to the outside of that penultimate corner. Does he get the drive versus Ishan Nija towards the final corner? But emerging from it for the 2nd time this evening and the 3rd time this season, Gabriel Norse etches himself closer and closer to a championship charge and takes victory here at Anglesey. Final corner dash for Logan McAllister on a recovery drive of the ages. The young man, the 95, across the line. 4th place for him to secure a P3 and a P4 on one of his worst evenings of the season. It's not bad going at all for the young driver. Urshan Nija completes the top 5, but Riley Pogue as well, finishing in 2nd place, led the majority of it and is able to clinch his first podium of the season. We'll have a word, of course, with all 3 of them when we can, but it's going to be Gabriel Norse that takes victory from Riley Pogue. Will Clark completes the podium, and Logan McAllister, Urshan Nija, Alison Smith from Lewis Morton Evans from the pit lane. Then, of course, comes Anthony Roberts, Nathan Snaith, Harry Power, and Samuel Chilton. Of course, we have got all 3 of our podium sitters. We'll talk with Will Clark first. Of course, the pace was there, a decent run to P3, and at the end of the day, P2, P3, good points in the bag for the championship.
Yeah, it's great. I'm still yet to finish off the podium, so I'm happy with that.
So obviously going forward this season, in a week's time, we'll be taking to Snetterton on the 12th of September. Is that a track that you're feeling quite confident with? Of course, we're going to be heading into the sort of second half of the season at that point. I mean, how are you feeling at this stage? Drop weeks, consistency, yet to get that race win, but is it something that's coming?
I mean, hopefully a race win's come in. I don't feel too confident around Snetterton. It's not really a track that I've had much experience at, but I feel like I'm, slowly getting to grips with the car, and I'm getting quicker and quicker in the car. So, yeah, I'll see what I can do.
What sort of niches have you found with the Ginetta then? How do you have to drive it versus maybe other cars that you've driven in the sim?
I mean, it's really hard to handle, and you have to be quite, aggressive with it, but you're sort of on the limiter the whole time. So it is a hard car to drive, but you've just got to find the limit and try not to go over it.
Well, best of luck, of course, for the rest of the season. Will, thank you for jumping in and having a chat with us 3 times this evening, which is a good consistency for you. And I don't think we've had around, obviously, a couple of qualifying sessions where we've not spoken to you, but in terms of races, we've had a lot of you in the commentary box, which is a very good thing for you in terms of the point scores. But hopefully we'll see you back in a week's time at Snetterton.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Awesome stuff. Will Clark then P3 at the end of that one. Next up is going to be Riley Pogue. For the first time this season, it must be said, it didn't come easy, but you fought your way. You were leading the majority of that race. Of course, Gabriel in the end was able to pip you, but P2, your first podium of the season. I mean, you went from a PB and P5 in race 1 to then jump to P2 in race 2. Talk us through your evening, because it's been absolutely sensational from your perspective.
Yeah, it's been a bit up and down, really. In practice, I wasn't very quick and I didn't really have a lot of confidence, but then qualifying gave me a bit more. And then race 2, it was a bit up and down, and honestly didn't know where I was going to finish, but I was happy with 5th. And then lap 1 on this race, I don't know what happened. I just shot up to 1st and then tried to keep it, but fair enough with Gabriel. He got by me fair and square.
Was the win something that you were going to sort of defend hard, or were you more focused on sort of just getting the podium, getting the points, and just securing it? I mean, would you have defended harder for the win?
Yeah, but I just wanted the podium. It would have been nice to have the win, but I'll take the podium.
Is it the first of many this season then, as we head to Snetterton in a week's time?
I don't really know, to be honest. Hopefully. I mean, Snetterton's a track that I haven't got really a lot of experience with, but I feel like if I put a lot of practice into it, I could be quite good at it.
Well, best of luck. Hopefully we'll see you back in a week's time. Thank you for coming and have a chat with us, Riley. Congratulations on the P2, and like we say, hopefully it's the first of many to come.
Thank you.
Awesome stuff. And, well, we've ticked off P3, P2, and, well, Gabriel Norse, the first double winner of the 2024 Ginetta Junior official eSeries. P1 in race 1, P1 in race 2, and leading the championship going into round number 4. Gabriel, how are you feeling? Because it was a hard-fought race. It was a hard-fought round here in Anglesey, but you came out on top.
Well, I'm very happy with that. I kind of just, on lap 1 of race 2, I just decided I'm going to go for it and try and just get up the order as quick as possible, and I managed to get to P3 after lap 1, and then from there on it was kind of just consistency, trying to fight through and just gain on Riley, and then by the end I just about had him.
How does it sort of make you feel knowing maybe sort of, obviously Will Clark had a really strong week in terms of, you know, P2 and P3 in race 1 and race 2, but Logan McAllister, who you fought very hard with, of course, back at Alton Park, definitely is one of the faster drivers on this field, knows his way around a racetrack in terms of that racecraft and decision making. For him to have a sort of, I suppose, a slightly worse week compared to you, does that sort of fill you with confidence for the championship?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just had a bit of an off week, but hopefully it's a sign that I'm on top for me. And then, yeah, I'm just going to try and build on my lead and see how far I can get.
And looking to, of course, the next few tracks that we take to, of course, Snetterton, Silverstone, Brands, and then back to Alton Park to round off the season, is there any one of them that sort of outlies as maybe your favourite, or maybe on the other side of that is one that you're sort of worried about in terms of the pace?
Not really. I've kind of driven them all before, and I know around where to brake and where to turn in, so I'm kind of just gonna do about 2 hours practice in the next week for Snetterton, and then just see where it takes me.
Awesome stuff. And of course, Gabriel, we can also confirm you are our driver of the round for this week. So congratulations, you'll get yourself some lovely new sim gloves supplied by 3M UK. So of course, congratulations not only on your 2 victories, but also the nice little accolade that you can get. Hopefully it's not going to be the only accolade you win this season. Hopefully for you, of course, you can go all the way, take that championship, and of course go on to compete for the Ginetta Scholarship. I mean, for you and your racing career, how much would it mean to go all the way?
It would definitely mean a lot. I mean, you can't talk too early, you just have to focus on the next round and try and just be as consistent. I'm very happy with getting driver of the round. I really wanted those gloves. And yeah, I'm just very happy.
Awesome stuff. Well, hopefully that smile continues into next week at Snetterton. Thank you, of course, for coming and having a chat with us, and best of luck for the week ahead.
Yep, thank you.
Gabriel Norse, our double victor here at Anglesey, conquered Wales as we work our way into the second half, or, well, we will start the second half of the season in a week's time. We've ticked off Alton Park, Donington, Anglesey for round 3. In a week's time, as we've said, we'll head to Norfolk, we'll head to the Snetterton 300 circuit before the final sprint to the end of the championship. Silverstone, Brands GP, and then Alton Park Island on the 3rd of October, just a week and a half before the winner of the championship could well embark on a life-changing journey through the Ginetta Scholarship and up into real-life racing. Of course, Jude, what have you made of this evening's action? And again, what can we expect from the championship going forward?
Yeah, it was a great race this evening, great 2 races this evening. Lots of action. You know, continuing on from the action at Donington Park. Yeah, I mean, of course, race 1, we saw a great performance from Logan there, and of course, Gabriel winning, but Logan being able to make up the positions after his unfortunate contact. And then race 2, you know, Gabriel being able to take both wins. Very impressive drive from him, and I'm sure that's obviously great for his championship, and I'm sure he'll be looking to continue that for the rest of the season.
Hopefully so. Well, it has been myself, Zach Sweeney, here in the commentary box. Alongside me, of course, Jude Peters, who has been brilliant as always. Tom O'Farrell behind the scenes, pushing the buttons, making the broadcast look pretty, and following each and every single second of the action. And we had it in bucket loads. Mick Sutton, of course, is the man responsible here at PASR to organise all the series and give these very young up-and-coming drivers their shot on the big stage. And Jordan Taylor, who got a very easy night off this week. He definitely deserved it after Donington. And in the end, we didn't need him as the safety car driver, but he was there supplying us information and, of course, is doing a brilliant job. Of course, thank you to everyone, friends, family, watching along at home here on the Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing YouTube channel. Make sure, of course, to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn the bell on for notifications, because we've got plenty of racing action. Of course, we've got the next 4 weeks of the 2024 Ginetta Junior official eSeries. We have also got the Pro Sim Rig 2024 Super Touring Championship that takes place on Tuesdays. We've just had the first round of that at Donington, and they'll be going to Silverstone in a week and a half's time on the 17th. So do make sure you are tuning in for that. And of course, if you're ever at any MSV sanctioned event around the UK, do make sure to keep an eye out for PASR, have a go on the sim, and hopefully have a lot of fun with it as well. In a week's time, though, For us and the Ginettas, we'll see you in Snetterton. It's goodbye for now.